I'm John Skinner, and this supports my book Striper Pursuit, and you can learn more about the book at striperpursuit.com. And here's the rig I'll be fishing with. That's an 1.5 ounce S&S John Skinner Smiling Bill Bass Bucktail. I've got about a 3-foot leader, a 50-pound test, green, trilene, big game monofilament there, tactical angler's clip connected to the lure, a quality barrel swivel, actually a Tsunami Centro, that will connect to the braid, and that bucktail is tipped with a split strip otter tail bait strip, and I'll have links to all of the gear in the description of the video. And I've got myself a windy, cold, early fall morning. Should have had the neoprene top this particular morning. All right, so that north wind is howling in, and yep, we'll do some bass bucktailing here, and just getting started. And boy, I'm gonna wish I started earlier, because these fish are gonna start hitting right off the first cast. Yeah, well, can't always get out as early as you hope. Or anyway, I didn't this trip, and gonna be right into fish. All right, so there's going to be a bunch of catching here, and let me elaborate on things a bit. Okay, so there'll be no blitzing or fish splashing or birds or anything to indicate visually that there's something here. This is typical structure fishing. I've got a point, I've got some current, got some rocks, although you can't see them, but they're down there. And I'm going to do some bucktailing over it. So, you know what, no matter where I'm fishing, the first thing I'm going to think about is a couple of things. How deep is the water I'm casting into? How much water movement is there from the current, and how much of an effect does the wind have? Now, if I were to fish this area on a under calm conditions, I think I could probably get away, or I know I can get away with 1 ounce here. But it's really blowing, and that's definitely going to have an impact. Blow some belly in the line, move some extra water. So I really need that 1.5 ounce jig to get out there. I'm not sure on the water depth. I can only tell you by casting and seeing how long it hits the bottom. And I'm guessing it's 15 to 20 feet. I really don't know. It doesn't matter. All I know is I let it settle down, and after maybe 7-8 seconds, if I don't get a hit, I start a slow retrieve. A lot of the fish will hit when it's falling, others will hit when I start that. See, I'm just letting it drop here, and I'll start a retrieve if I don't get hit like that. Okay, and you saw the bucktail in the beginning. Yeah, those bucktails and those things, I've been making those a long time, but now they're sold by S&S, and they do a much better job. They tie them very consistently, and you'll notice that it's not it's going to have a little more hair. It's going to be filled out with the hackle feathers. It's a nice bulky bucktail, so when you throw that out there, it has a nice natural fall to it, and it catches some water, and it presents a nice profile. So it's definitely a good bucktail. Yeah, J&H Tackle, Oakdale, Long Island. Like I said, I've got links to it. It's tipped with an otter tail bait strip, and in that picture I included that 3-foot leader or 50-pound test. In this case, trilene big game green. You know, I tend to use that a lot for leader material. There's really no need in this circumstance for fluorocarbon. Boy, you get a 1/4 pound spool of that 50-pound green, and yeah, that thing will last you for decades if you're just using it as leader material. Yep, tactical angler's clip to connect the bucktail. So you know, I want to make it easy to change lures, and yeah, between the braid and that leader material is a 180-pound test Tsunami Centro barrel swivel. And you'll notice as I go along that I unhook those fish pretty easily, and that's because the barb is crushed. You know what? If you hook a fish with a crushed barb, you keep a good bend in the rod, you are not going to lose it because you crush the barb down. You don't want to crush the barb down all the way, or you're going to lose these otter tail bait strips, or anything, whether it's pork rind or whatever trailer you put on there, will slide off the hook. So you got to leave a little bit of a barb, but it doesn't take much to keep those trailers on there, and it makes unhooking a lot easier. All right, and the objective is to just glide that bucktail near the bottom. Not bounce it on the bottom. If you go too heavy, if you threw a 2 ounce out here, you'd be tapping bottom, feeling bottom the whole time. If you do that, you lighten up a little bit, and that's where I'm finding 1.5 ounces is just the right weight. If you went too light, first of all, here with these conditions, you might have some trouble reaching the fish, but the other thing is you would be too high in the water column, you'd blow right over the fish, and since these guys very often are near the bottom, because what they do is they use the bottom structure to help break the current. So if you went too light, you'd blow right over them. So it's a matter of zeroing in on that correct bucktail weight and keep it in the strike zone. Okay, so what I'm most excited about in this video is this rod. And if you go back in my videos for years, and you go back almost as long as I've been making them, I guess as long as I've been making them, you'll see me using a 9-footer a lot. Now, I'll always say this 9-footer was built on a Lamiglas 10-foot blank with 1 foot cut off the bottom of the blank. Yeah, originally this rod, back in the mid-90s, a rod builder named John Scher had what he called a Montauk eel rod, and it was a 10-foot Lamiglas GSB 121L, a foot off the butt. He had it rigged up with 5 guides, and I basically liked it, but I ended up changing it right away, knocked it down to 4 guides. I just love the rod, and I use it for rigged eels, live eels, so many things for so long, and boy, I did so much of my fishing with that, and quite a few people asked me for the specs and started building the rod. Finally, Lamiglas has come along, and they're making the rod. They're calling it a GSB Skinner rod. This is actually the 2nd season with the rod, but I didn't even bother to get one of the factory ones in the first year. I just didn't get around to it. I had 2 of my own that I built, and I figured that was good enough. And finally, I got one of the real factory ones this season, and I'm just starting to use it, and I'm kind of mad at myself that I didn't start earlier. They improved on what I had. I mean, they changed the hardloid guides to alkanites, which are lighter. I think also by them making double foot guides where I had the singles, I think that was a good improvement. Boy, they just really did a wonderful job on it. And it's a beautiful rod for pencil poppers, for bucktails in this situation. So, yeah, this is like among my first trips where finally I grabbed the factory rod and started fishing it, and yeah, I really like it. Yeah, and quite a few places that carry Lamiglas rods will have this. And like I said, it's not a 9-footer anymore, because along the way, throughout the years, I ended up tweaking it one more time and brought it up to 9 feet 2 inches. So, yep, that's the length, and it's called the GSB Skinner rod, and like I said, Lamiglas is making that. It's a factory rod now. And I think most people would put a 5000 series reel on this, and on this trip, yeah, I've got a Penn Torque 5 on there, spooled with 30-pound test braid. A lot of times, especially for pencil popping in areas where it's rocky and I'm really having to muscle fish around boulders and stuff, I really like the 6000 series reel. I often use a Penn Slammer 36500, but I understand that most people, for weight purposes, balance, whatever, they're going to put a 5000 series on here, and that's a nice match to the rod. Now, what I'm liking about this video is that rod up against that dawn sky, where you can really see the rod tip very well, and you can see that bump, and that's all it is. That's all these hits are. They're not slamming it or anything. It's just a little tap. If somebody just tapped the tip of your rod, that's what the hit is. And that's a cool thing about bucktailing. You feel that tap, and you don't know whether that fish is 15 inches or 50 pounds. It could be anywhere in there. That hit's going to feel the same no matter what the size of the fish is. So I don't know. I've always found that to be an exciting part of bucktailing. All right, well, that's about all I have to say. If you like this video, please hit the like button. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. And enjoy the rest of the fishing.